Clara Vance had always believed in the power of words, but at 34, she felt like she'd run out of them. A once sharp New York journalist, her days were now a blur of deadlines and heartbreak, her nights spent replaying the moment her fiancé, David, walked out. "I need space," he'd said, leaving her with a half-empty apartment and a heart that felt the same. When her estranged aunt passed away, leaving her a dilapidated farmhouse in Willow Creek, a tiny village in upstate New York, Clara saw it as an escape, or maybe just a distraction. The farmhouse was a wreck. Its sagging porch groaned under her weight, and the windows were so grimy they barely let in the October light. Clara, in her city boots and oversized scarf, stood in the yard staring at the peeling paint and wondering why she'd driven 4 hours from Manhattan for this. The lawyer had warned her the place was rustic, but that was generous. Still, she'd taken a month's leave from the paper. She needed to breathe, to find something, anything to fill the hollow space David had left. Inside, the air smelled of dust and time. Clara wandered through the creaky rooms, her footsteps echoing on warped floorboards. The furniture was sparse, a lumpy couch, a wobbly table, and a wood stove that looked like it hadn't been lit since the Reagan era. Upstairs in the attic, she found the only thing that felt alive, a wooden chest tucked under a slanted beam, its lid carved with faded initials, E and L. Curiosity tugged at her. She pried the chest open, revealing a stack of letters tied with a red ribbon, yellowed but intact. The envelopes bore a 1940s postmark, addressed to Eleanor Mayhew, Willow Creek, NY. Clara untied the ribbon and unfolded the first letter, its ink faded but legible. "My dearest Ellie," it began, "I dream of you every night, your laugh like the bells at St. Mary's. The war feels endless, but knowing you're waiting keeps me whole. Yours forever, Louis." Clara's breath caught. The words were simple but heavy, laced with a love that felt too big for the brittle paper. She spent the afternoon reading, sprawled on the attic floor, each letter painting a vivid picture of Eleanor and Louis. He was a soldier stationed in Europe, she a schoolteacher in Willow Creek. Their letters spoke of stolen summers by the creek, promises of a future, and the ache of distance. "I'll build us a house," Louis wrote in 1943, "with a porch for your roses and a window for the stars." Clara's eyes stung. She hadn't cried since David left, but these words cracked something open. Over the next week, Clara threw herself into the farmhouse, scrubbing floors and patching leaks, but the letters were her anchor. Each night, she'd climb to the attic and read another, tracing Eleanor and Louis's love through the war years. Eleanor's replies, tucked among Louis's, were just as fierce. "I'm planting roses by the creek," she wrote, "so you'll have something pretty to come home to." But by 1945, the letters stopped. The last one, from Louis, was brief. "I'm coming home, Ellie. Wait for me." There was no reply. Clara couldn't let it go. Who were they? What happened? The village of Willow Creek, with its single diner and crumbling library, seemed the place to start. At the diner, she met Mabel, a white-haired woman who'd lived there since the 30s. "Eleanor Mayhew?" Mabel's eyes lit up. "Oh, she was a firecracker, taught every kid in town, including me. Loved a boy named Louis, but, well, he didn't come back from the war. Broke her heart. She left Willow Creek after that. Never married." Clara's chest tightened. "Do you know where she went?" Mabel shook her head. "Some said she moved to Albany, others to Canada. Nobody really knew. She just faded away." The library offered little more. Just a faded photo of Eleanor, her dark hair pinned up, smiling beside a man in uniform. Louis, Clara assumed. His eyes were kind, his arms slung around Eleanor like she was his whole world. Clara stared at the photo, feeling a kinship with Eleanor's loss. David hadn't died, but his absence felt like a death all the same. Back at the farmhouse, Clara started writing again. Not articles, but letters to Eleanor, as if the act could bridge their pain across decades. "Dear Eleanor," she wrote, "I don't know how you survived losing him. I can't even survive losing someone who's still alive." She tucked her letters into the chest, a ritual that felt silly but necessary. One morning, while clearing the overgrown backyard, Clara found a patch of wild roses near the creek, their petals pale but stubborn. She froze. Eleanor's roses. She spent hours tending them, her hands scratched and muddy, feeling closer to Eleanor than ever. That night, she dreamed of a soldier and a schoolteacher dancing under a starlit sky. Weeks passed, and Clara's hands grew calloused, her heart a little lighter. The farmhouse, though still creaky, started to feel like hers. She painted the porch, fixed the windows, and even bought a rocking chair for the evenings when she'd sit with a mug of tea and watch the sunset. The letters had become her map, guiding her through her own grief. Eleanor's strength, even in loss, made Clara want to be braver. One chilly afternoon, a stranger knocked on her door, a man in his 60s, carrying a shoebox. "I'm Henry," he said. "Mabel told me you're asking about Eleanor Mayhew." "She was my mother." Clara's jaw dropped. Henry explained that Eleanor had moved to Albany, raised him alone, and never spoke of Louis. "She passed 10 years ago, but I found these in her things." He handed Clara the shoebox, filled with more letters. Louis's, written after 1945. Clara's hands shook as she read. Louis had come back, wounded but alive, only to find Eleanor gone, having left Willow Creek in grief, believing he'd died. His letters begged her to return, but they were unopened, returned to sender. "I'm still here, Ellie. I'll wait forever." Louis had died in the 70s, alone. Henry stayed for coffee and they talked for hours. He told Clara how Eleanor had poured her love into teaching, into him, despite her broken heart. "She'd have liked you," Henry said, smiling. "You're fixing up her old house, keeping her roses alive." Before he left, he gave Clara a locket from the shoebox, Eleanor's, with a tiny photo of Louis inside. That night, Clara wrote one last letter. "Dear Eleanor, I hope you found peace. I'm trying to. Thank you for showing me how." She tucked it into the chest, alongside the locket. The next day, she started a new story, not for the paper, but for herself, about a journalist who found love in loss in a rundown farmhouse by a creek. Clara never heard from David again, but she didn't need to. The farmhouse, the roses, and Eleanor's letters had taught her something she'd forgotten. Love doesn't end with loss. It lingers, in words, in memories, in the stubborn roots of wild roses. And as winter settled over Willow Creek, Clara sat on her porch, wrapped in a blanket, writing under the stars, feeling whole for the first time in years. If Clara's journey of love, loss, and healing in the letters of Willow Creek touched your heart, don't miss out on more stories that'll make you feel all the feels. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for tales of hope and heart delivered straight to your screen. Hit that bell icon, join our community, and let's keep the stories growing.